Okay, mate.
All right. We are live and recording. How you been,
Groovy.
man?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah. I think as everyone else is collectively
It's
getting on with it. You know what I
crazy.
mean?
It's so crazy. And you're in the
Yeah.
epicenter. I got this
Yeah.
guy.
Hey, here he is. What's up, mate? Who
Say hi.
Hi.
are you? How are you, mate?
Can't hear because they got earbud.
Oh,
Say
okay.
hello. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey, mate. How's it going? All right.
Good.
Cool. We're getting a lot of mum and dad time and brother time.
Yeah.
You think? Jesus.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
most ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, let me hop on. Go outside. Leave me alone. All right, go ahead. Yeah, man, it's just been like dad life, dad life, dad life.
Yeah.
It's all good. Man, so you've been shut down since when?
Probably 6 weeks now, maybe
Yeah.
close to 7. You know.
Yeah, March 16th was the day the state shut us down, and we were just
Okay.
been done ever since, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting because for me it was like a Thursday, and I finished the Henzos at night teaching about 7 or 8, and then the staff were like, the management were like, that we're not coming in. There's no classes tomorrow or Saturday. For the weekend, we're going to be closed. I was like, okay. And then I went away, and then everyone starts talking, and I was like, oh, right, we're not opening up anytime soon.
No. You're in the epicenter of it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you guys got hit the hardest, and I mean, I think we're getting hit a little bit harder in Jersey right now, but it's just you're in New York City. Everything was in a small radius for the state of New Jersey. I mean, it's all over the place. I got it started. So I'm in. I live in Interlake, and the gym's in Oakhurst, and like 15 minutes away is Freehold, and that was where the original outbreak around us happened. We had one family had a wedding, and like 6 people died in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like the one that made us go, wait a minute, there's something going on here. And, it's crazy. I remember the last time I came in that Thursday, I think I brought my son with me, and I was freaking out a little bit because there was nobody. I mean, there's no traffic coming to the city. Parking garage was empty. Walked over to Hendel's, and it was all quiet. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is nuts.
Yeah, that's
nuts.
I remember because you got there really fast.
Yeah, and
you were like, there's no traffic, and I was like,
yeah, man. Everybody knew something that I wasn't. It's funny because we had Carl's fight coming up, and I'm in that like, gotta do what I gotta do. I'm not really paying attention to what's happening because we're like, nope, whatever happens, this fight's going. And obviously that April 25th or whatever, I think 18th, whatever that card was, the Brooklyn card got shut down. They moved it to California, then it got shut down, and now we got rebooked May 13th in Jacksonville, Florida, with a new opponent. So now we're fighting Marvin Vettori instead of Murad. So, yeah. So like, try this. I've been saying from the beginning this broke out, any fights that we have right now are real fights. This is not athletic competitions because what kind of training camp are we running?
The one thing I suppose, at least, that's most likely is that pretty much everyone's in the same boat. So like, it's not like you can get some training that someone else can't. It's generally we're all in the same boat. So in theory, you have a fight. It's whatever it is. It's generally it should be a level playing field. So
that like I know Vittori's out in California with Cordiero and them at King's MMA. I think they're breaking the rules a little bit more than we are because I see photos. He's mixing with different stuff, but there's no full on. I mean, there's no easy access, no big group of guys. I mean, we have done zero sparring. I'm not going to lie on it. We've done zero sparring to get ready for this fight. We've been hitting pads every single day. So it's Carl and I don't let anyone come in the gym because if either one of us gets sick, this fight's just not going to happen. So I'm like, all right, we'll just isolate. And we're hitting pads every day, wrestling a little bit, working on position. It's all situational drilling and come in the best shape we can. And Carl's a fighter, so I'm not worried about it. He's going to go in, he'll do his thing. I'm not worried, but whatever. When do you think this is going to clear for you? This is nuts. Like, I don't know. New Jersey, I have a friend in the works for the Parkway. They're talking about being ready for Memorial Day weekend, But then I have a friend who works in state government who said our governor doesn't want to open up until July. So I don't know where the hell it falls.
Yeah, it's
And then
difficult.
what does that mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's difficult, I suppose, because there's a lot of mixed messages, isn't there? And
Yeah.
because of the kind of um, it's contradictory too. Like right from the beginning, it's like this is what it is. Oh no, it's not that anymore.
Nope.
And then once you've had it, you're good. And then no, you can get it again. And then hang on a minute, is it really that bad? Yeah, it's really that bad. No, it's not that bad. So it's like I don't know. And then a bunch of my friends are like, oh, I've definitely had it. And then this one of my friends was like, oh, I lost all my sense of taste and smell and things. And someone else was like, oh yeah, that happened to me. And then my friend took a test. I don't know where he got it, whatever. And it was like, oh, it says I didn't have it. I'm like,
oh my
like,
God.
everyone's all over the place with it.
I
So
got hit with a forever sick in like January, man. I had like January through February, I had a cough that would not leave me alone. But my son ended up in the hospital. I don't remember, like my timeline's all fucked up. It was right after Christmas. My little guy, my 1-year-old got super sick. We went to the hospital and they wouldn't let us go until they figured out what it was. And they said it was this adenovirus. And then they were like, this runs its course. You get a high fever, you get a bad cough. So I don't know. Did I have coronavirus in fucking January, or did I have this adenovirus? Who knows? All I know is I don't know, and I don't want to get this shit, and I don't want to deal with it. For me, more than anything, it's not even me getting it, because I think the survivability rate for people like us is very high, but I don't want to give it to my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the person responsible for an older person I know getting this, struggling. I don't want to be that guy. So I have to be extremely cautious.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense, especially from the beginning, where initially I didn't really understand the reaction to what was going on. I was a little bit more, I wasn't as concerned. I was like, well, why are we reacting to something? I mean, given the information that we had, to something that didn't seem so serious. But it was only after about a week that's when more information seemed to filter through, and then it made much more sense as a community that we, made sure we didn't spread it, because it wasn't just a case of who's vulnerable, but the healthcare system being, overwhelmed. So that obviously then made a lot more sense to me, that like we needed to be more cautious so we could look after each other as a group.
Yeah, I'm same boat. So how are you getting by? Like, I mean, this is your livelihood. How are you doing?
I had some savings, I suppose, like trying to. So I've been lucky enough to have had some money put aside so I could pay bills. But I'm really, to be fair, I am struggling. I haven't really been able to work for the best part of 2 months, so that's not been easy. But I'm also very fortunate in that I just have a great bunch of friends and people, and so people have offered to help me or give me some assistance in any way, and that's been really moving. I suppose these kind of situations in the past, whatever it be, whether you're ill, whether you're injured, whatever incapacity comes your way in life, people show up, don't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I expected complete exodus from like even the gym side. My students have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Everyone stayed with us through this. I mean, they're supporting the gym 100%. They don't care. They're like, look, we want a gym to come back to. Like, let's let's keep everything all right. I got a wife and 2 kids. Like, this is tough.
Yeah.
My wife's out of work right now.
Okay.
She had problems with her job, with like giving her shit about this. Like, her job was trying to like break rules, and they were being really rough on her. So like, we're fighting to get unemployment for her. And, I can't get a loan. I can't get like all this loan shit that's out there for my business, whatever. But yeah, this is, a little pucker time. If I didn't have Carl's fight coming up, I honestly don't know what I would do. Like, that's why when it fell through in April, I was like, oh my God, this was going to get us through. So we've really, we're struggling to get through right now, but we'll be on the other side soon. And I think we'll all be okay. The only one is like, I look at it, I'm like, when are they going to allow us to do person-to-person contact? I don't see that happening for a while. I don't see jiu-jitsu classes for months. I see like striking and shit like that, but I don't see human to human sparring, rolling, that kind of stuff being legal for a while, which
Yeah,
is
it's tough.
scary.
Yeah, it's the tough thing, and you're not sure how they might. I'm just guessing, but perhaps there'll be a phased sense of return. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll just say everything's open, but
Yeah,
but maybe
that
they'll do it.
probability on that's going to be low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I can imagine a more phased sense of return. So it's not like a stampede, as it were. But who knows? It's just such an unprecedented time, really, to be in. Like, hopefully, the only time we have to experience it in our lifetime. I hope. Um, but like it's. Obviously, there's a lot of stress and difficulty, but as usual, there's also other sides to that where like you get time that you would never have had, and also you have those opportunities, especially when you have that much time. Even if you're not by nature someone who's necessarily introspective, you're probably going to have some moments to have a
Yeah.
lot of time to think about some things that you might not normally have put that time into. And I've tried to appreciate that, like, as well as the people I miss or the
Yep.
situations I miss. It does draw the focus and kind of magnify the good as well as the bad, but certainly the good.
I feel like right now, I felt a responsibility from the beginning that I have to put myself in a position when this is over and we come out of it, I'm going to be able to provide better for the people that have been for me through this, that have
Yeah,
always been with me. Like, I've been, my wife wants to kill me. I think I'm working more hours now than I normally would. I'm online, like I'm building an online platform. So I'm building an online training community.
yeah,
And I've been like, okay, how do I partner up an online community with my on the ground community so I can provide a better experience for everybody? And that's been my main focus. So I built a new website for the gym. I'm building an online community for the gym. And more than anything, I want it to be a community. I want to be a place where the information is there. The questions can be answered. We can talk to each other in different ways. Because who knows, if this happens again, I want to be prepared.
yeah,
And I want to create more opportunity for all of us to do more things together in a better way. So I think that, again, it's horrible what we're going through. The economic devastation is crazy. The loss of life is just, there were over 66,000 people have died. So anybody that disrespects this and says it's the flu, I'm like, go fuck yourself. 66,000 people have died. If you knew one of them, this would be really important to you. That's the one where I'm like, we should all be able, dude, just think about it. What if it was your mom, your brother, your sister, somebody close to you that was just one of those people?
yeah,
You would look at that number very different. So yeah, I appreciate things a lot differently right now. I sure as shit do. And yeah, I'm just trying to restructure a lot of my stuff so I can provide better service, is what it is. I feel bad.
yeah,
I have so many fighters. Man, what about our regional guys? When are we going to get a regional show? You're not going to have spectators for how long?
yeah.
It's crazy.
It's like I know I do believe in perspective, so I say this as well. Also, like I was raised by my grandparents, and so I'm 47, so it's like they were in World War II, and I'm from England, so like, and I'm from the area of Liverpool, and that was like heavily bombed in the war. So I have um like real life memories, my own memories of talking to people who were there. So like
Yeah.
they told me what that was like, and it didn't happen just with them. Of course, I have friends, and so their grandparents and great grandparents personally spoke to me about what those some of those circumstances were like. So in my lifetime, I've always had a perspective of like, and I'm not trying to diminish struggle or difficulty in real life, but I've always had a general feeling of like, okay, this is difficult, blah blah blah. Do your thing, and then at some point, if I ever get too far down the road of like feeling sorry for myself, I just
Yeah.
go, "Are you fucking kidding me, Jamie?" You're like, you know where you came from, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's not that bad, Jamie. So like it's the same thing here now. It's like, and again, I'm not diminishing the difficulties. I try to be like, it could be a lot worse, and we're very fortunate in many ways. So like, I try to, because it upsets me. I think about how many people are going to pass away and how many people are going to struggle, and of course the repercussions of like businesses closing and difficulties with families. Those things are very real to me. So I would never want to diminish that. But on a personal note, I try to, on my own, just individually, I try to keep a perspective of like, we're very fortunate, and we, like you just said, when it's coming through to another, hopefully another side of it, I want to not forget the lesson of the appreciation I have for the people supporting me and helping me, and trying to further that with my actions afterwards, you know.
This job we have is crazy too. Like you had the last time I saw you face to face, you said to me, you said, you know, there's a lot of things I could do for money. I don't do this for the money. And
Yeah.
it's the truth. Like if we wanted to go make real money, we wouldn't be, you know, we'd be hopping way fucking far away from MMA, man.
Yeah.
But it's the people we work with. It's all those young people that are chasing that dream that we get to be a part of, and the daily struggle of it all. That I know it keeps you in it. You have the same passion that I do. You're 47, I'm 46. You know, like we've been doing this a long time, and it's the respect of that dream and being a part of that journey. And then when you get put in a position like this, it's just, you know, again, it puts perspective on it. I like the Marcus Aurelius quote, you know, adversity is opportunity. And I really look at this is opportunity, not in the like, let's make $1 million selling face masks at a inflated price. It's an opportunity to be introspective, to appreciate what we had before it, to look at things better when we get out of it. And, you know, the one I look at, I hope there's some of those fighters that were half-assing it understand from this by not having it now, like, let's go or not go. Like, all in or all out, man. Stop fucking around with this. You got no time. Because you look at a fighter on the end. I got a couple fighters that I know that are a little bit towards the end. You're losing a year of your career. It might be over now. It might be over. Because the shows, there's going to be a hell of a lot less opportunity for people to fight, because you're only going to be able to put so many shows, and we got so many people looking to fight. It's like the young best of the crop's going to come back, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy. Look, one thing I wanted to hop in with you on, I'm talking about current stuff, but for people in my world that don't know you, I want people to get to know who you are and how you ended up in New York, and how we bumped into each other in a basement in a Midtown, and you know, we're crossing paths now. So you're from England, and how the hell did you end up here, man?
Well, it's a harder thing for me to fully know personally where the inspiration came from. I've always been a bit of an individual since I was a kid. I just did my own thing, and like, I am definitely social. I'm not like doing things on my own, you know, but like I always was like, my friends would be like, let's go and play football, you know, like soccer, we call it here. And like, they would all play soccer, and I'd be like, I'm going to boxing gym. So, you know, I grow up with a bunch of lads. I still have friends, 40 plus year friendships. I'm still close to those people I grew up with back in England. But always since I was a kid, I would do my thing, and then I would see my friends, whatever that was. And if I happened to make friends boxing and kickboxing, then that's what happened. But I always had a drive to, like, I was competitive, but it was a quiet side of me. So like, it might not have been obvious to people, but I did my own thing, still kept with my friends, but I was always like driven by that. And then by the time I was in my teens, like 15, 16, 17, I was training a lot, and I was also getting a bit frustrated with my cultural situation. It was like there was a recession on in the 90s, early 90s, 1991, and I was a carpenter. So I was working construction and things. I was in college learning the trades, and it was
what did you study in college?
It was carpentry, you know.
Okay.
And so I did it, you know, I did well at it, and then I finished my apprenticeship, and then just the economy, I suppose, and it was the only experience I ever had as an adult, was that there was just, unfortunately, it was just never enough. I always felt like I was either unemployed, on the brink of unemployment, or when I was working, I genuinely had like 2 or 3 different jobs, and I lived at home with my grandparents. It was like, I just had no money, and it was like a bit depressing, but it was like that for everybody else. So
yeah,
everybody else was like, oh, okay. But I was always like, no, it's not okay. Like, this isn't good enough. Like, not England or Liverpool isn't good enough, but the situation isn't good enough, and I didn't know what to do. So in the end, I left. I just I saved up a tiny bit of money, and I wrote to the American embassy, Japanese embassy, Canadian embassy, and the Australian embassy, and I asked them for any help or information on what I would need to do to come to that country and work or have some kind of temporary visa. This is when I was like 22. And so like America wrote back and said, piss off, you need a letter from God to do that. Japan didn't even respond to me. Canada said, yeah, come and you can do these things. And Australia responded to me. And so after some deliberation, my conclusion was probably the most fun and possibly opportune place was Australia. So I applied for a visa and I got it for like a year for a working visa. So I pissed off over to Australia for a year, and that
What
was
year
a
was
game
that?
changer.
What year?
95, 96.
What year was the Sydney Olympics?
That's a good question. I think it was 2000.
No, I think it was right before 2000.
Oh, was it? Or maybe it was.
I think it was 98.
Yeah, it was about to happen just before I left, actually.
I fought there
I think
that year. I fought in Sydney in whatever year the Olympics were. I went and I fought in full contact. They called it full contact karate, but it literally was MMA with a gi on. And I fought there in like 98, and it was craziest thing I ever did. Yeah, but I went down under at that time too.
Yeah, I mean, I had a year there that was like, it was absolutely fundamentally life-changing for me. Like, my experience there was like so good. Just obviously a lot to do topographically with being physically in a different place and a different culture and things, but also just emotionally and like as a man, it just gave me an independence I'd never had. And also like I had this anonymity, which was I just found very refreshing.
Yeah.
And so like that was a big year for me, and I my visa ran out. I couldn't really renew it, so I buggered off and I went to Indonesia for a month or so, and then Thailand. I was in Thailand for like 2 months, did a bit of training there. That was like inspirational. And then I went back to England, and I went back. I was happy to go back to see everyone, but I didn't have any motivation to stay there. So when I went back, I had a friend who was in the Royal Marines, and he just come out, and then he was in the reserves. So he was training with those guys, and he knew how much I enjoyed training, like physical training. So he invited me, and I started training with him, and I ended up doing the Royal Marines, and I ended up joining the reserves, and then I went through training with them. It took me about a year, and that was unquestionably one of the hardest years of my life, like physically and mentally.
I could imagine.
That was a big arse kicker. It was also like super grateful again for some of the people I met there were phenomenal. They were the first people to show me physical training to a professional standard that I hadn't experienced. You know, that kind of like, if you fuck this up, people are going to die. So you better get it right. So that was extreme, and I welcomed it. And so that helped me structure future training. No, I didn't know it at the time, but that's helped me structure some of my training with fighting and things like that. Obviously, it's not that extreme generally, you know. Hopefully you're not going to die if you get the
You're not going to die, but but it's really funny because you're saying this. It's weird how, I mean, I guess if you're on this path, the journeys end up being similar, different places, but you have to have the similar experiences to end up where we are. Like for me, that was my K1 years, because I didn't know how far the human body could be pushed. Yeah. And I didn't appreciate, up until that point, I didn't appreciate the responsibility you have of pushing each other too. Like the dance in America was very different. It was a lot softer. In Japan, it was the harder they kicked your ass, the more they cared about you kind of thing. But it was done with knowledge. It wasn't, we're going to beat you and break you. It was, no, we're going to show you how strong you are. And one thing I keep to this day, and anyone who comes to my gym knows this, no one in my gym reaches down to help anyone up from the floor. Because the one thing, I had a coach in Osaka who said to me, he goes, why would you help him up? Let him get up. Give him the gift of knowing that he's still strong enough to get up. And I was like, that always resonated with me. And that's a message that I like to stay with, is that we have to give each other the opportunity to struggle so we can find out for ourselves who we are. That's a gift we can give each other. And you really have to have people you trust, people with skills, and people willing to go that distance. And you got to risk a lot to go that far. So yeah, that's funny, because like you started saying that, I'm like, well, that was me. I had this guy, Arnie Solidell, this crazy coach from upstate New York who was living in Long Island, lived in Japan for 10 years. Beat the crap out of me every day, but then he took me to Japan and showed me the way. And like, it created a level of understanding and confidence within that I've never lost. And it's something that in that process, I learned how to teach other people. And like, that stuff, forget about the technical side, just on a personal side. I think that's what gave me the ability to be a better coach and to devote my time to it, because I apply that every day on that mat. So.
Yeah, I feel like this is nice for you to share that with me, because I feel like the other day, just a day or two ago, I was having a different conversation with the same thread, and I feel like you could do this with religion or whatever method of or whatever medium you express yourself in. I feel like there's always, like I mentioned religion because there's a lot of that stuff. You could be like, oh, I'm this religion, and someone else is like, well, I was born in India, so I'm this. But they're all, if you're really paying attention, you don't have to pay that much attention. They're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And if
different stories, same message.
Yeah, exactly. And your journey is going to be different. Mine is going to be this. But if the experiences teach me anything, I constantly find correlation between our journeys. It's like, well, this happened, and then you're like, yeah, and then you're like, and it meant this to me, and I'm like, well, a completely different thing happened to me, but it meant the same thing to me. And I think there's a wonderful truth to that. And it's like, I just feel it pops up all over the world, like from the people you meet,
I don't think it pops up all over the world. I think it's just a consistent thread in humanity. We're all humans. And I mean, humans are we thrive in very specific circumstances. I mean, culturally, the circumstances have a different thread to them, but it's the same experiences.
Yeah.
It's the pain and the struggle and the overcoming and whatever. It doesn't matter what endeavor you do, there's something to it. So yeah, I think if we would focus less on the adjectives and more on that commonality, it would make a lot of better changes for us, So yeah, it's funny. I have so many friends of mine I do this with, and all different entrepreneurs, business owners, different things. We all have the same conversation. So the conversation we're having, I've had 100 times with 100 other people in different walks of life. You and I happen to be on the same one. So like we have different things to talk about, but like my barber had the same experience as a barber that we had as an MMA guy, my chiropractor, same shit. It's all the same. But so just to pull back. So you go, how'd you get to New York? And how'd you get in with Henzo? And how did you start your thing? That's my wife in the background, by the way. There she is. Okay. There she is right there. There she is.
Hey, there she is. Yeah, so, well, I come out of the Marines and, I just didn't have that. The same thing was applying. Once I was out, I didn't have that motivation really to be in that specific place physically in Liverpool. So I looked elsewhere again. And this is what I was saying at the very beginning of the conversation. I can't really explain where this fully comes from, but I always wanted to come to New York ever since I was a little kid, and it wasn't a loud noise. It was just a murmur for years in the background, and I wouldn't pay that much attention to it. And then I remember being on an exercise in Wales in the mountains with a Marine, and we were I was in a troop, but it was just me and this one guy, and we were lying on a hill, and it was like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was pissing down with rain, and we're both lying there, and it wasn't very comfortable. And we were both just staring at each other, and we both knew what we were thinking, like, what the fuck are we doing this for? And so he's like, at the time, I'm still friends with this lad. I was 24, something like that, 23, 24, and he was like in his 30s, like 31, 32, and he had kids. So he's in a completely different part of his life than me. And he looked at me and he was like, this is bullshit. And I was like, so I was like, yeah, it's not very nice. And he was like, what are you going to do? You know, because in December, January that year, the end of the year, our time was up. So he's like, what are you going to do after this? You're going to sign up again? And I was like, no, I'm going to go to New York. He goes, New York in America? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go live there in the city. So he looked at me and he had 3 questions for me. He goes, have you got any money? So after he said that, he looked at me and we both burst out laughing because that was a stupid question. And then and I was like, no, I've got no money. And he goes, well, do you know anybody there? And I'm like, no, I've never been there. And he goes, well, do you have like a job or do you have like something? And I was like, no. And then there was like silence. And he looked at me and he knows at that point we've been through some shit together. So he goes, all right. And like a year to that day, I was in New York City. I had a job and I was like, you know, trying to make my way into the city in life. Like I didn't know it, but I kind of knew it. And like, I don't know why. I just always wanted to come here. And when I did come, I came with like a program. It was called Camp America, and it's like they hire people from all over like Europe, American like companies or like camps for the kids. Like, so when the kids go to camp in the summertime, a lot of the staff are European. So that's how I got in.
You were a camp counselor.
Yeah.
You were a camp counselor.
Yeah,
you're making me not. I don't know if I want to send my kid to camp right now or not. You're scaring the crap out of me.
yeah, just ruined it, haven't I? Your kid could have had an amazing experience, and now I'm getting in the way.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's
and
so
that was
funny.
That's how I kind of, because like same thing. Like I was like, all right, well, I'm not just gonna go and I'm not gonna be, you know, break the law. I want to get there and do things right. And so I wrote off to a few camps, and they were like, okay, well, you've had a lot of experience in this. I used to be a lifeguard. I did stuff in the background. So they said, yeah, you can come and work at one of the camps. And it was in Connecticut. So I managed to work there. And while I was working there, some of the staff were from New York. And I met a lad who was English. He was from London, but he lived in New York. So I become friends with him. And then he was like, you know, I know a few people. What do you do? So I told him I'd been in Marines. I was kickboxing, had some fights in England, done all right. Actually, he was getting some notice, but I never really pushed it. So when I came to when the camp finished, I went to see him in the city, and I stayed with him for a couple of months. And I ended up meeting another lad from Manchester, and he was a Thai boxing champion. His name was Bobby Beckles, and he was from just outside Manchester, and he used to train with Master Sken in England. And he had a friend, Phil Nurse.
I trained with Phil too.
Yeah, and so he introduced me to Phil. And I also went to Gleason's, and I was boxing there for a little while. So I just started meeting people in a community, which obviously I didn't have any connections.
Did you fight while you were in the city at that time? Were you fighting?
Yeah.
Did you fight? What did you do? Friday night fights?
And you know what? I never fought on Friday night fights. I fought with, 5 Points.
Yeah.
They used
My
to
guys fought guys from 5 Points on Friday night fights a bunch of times.
Yeah, so I used to do that. I used to do they had like what was it, like Madness on Mulberry, and it was different, like,
okay.
They had it in different venues. So
you remember at that time though, it was a little tribal. If you fought in New York, you kind of had to stick with a show.
Yeah,
it was a little
absolutely
different then. So like once we were with Friday Night Fights, it got difficult to go other places because then Justin would get pissed or this guy would get pissed. Everybody got pissed. So it was like, you know what? We'll stick with this and keep it easy.
Yeah,
it's hard enough fighting in the city. You bastards in New York always get the better decisions. Jersey boys always have it tough.
I know, you had to, if you wanted to win and you were from New Jersey, in fact, you couldn't win. You had to knock us out just to get a draw.
You're the first New Yorker being honest enough to admit that. I have my one kid. I had Jason Teitelbaum fought on Friday Night Fights in a 5-round fight. He had 5 knockdowns and he lost the decision. He knocked the guy down every single round for an 8 count and lost the decision.
That's fucking terrible, dude.
I flipped
Jesus.
over a table. They almost suspended me in New York because I flipped out so bad. I was like, I
Yeah.
lost it. That was one of the worst screw jobs I ever was a part of in my life. I had another time. They told us it was 5 rounds, and they stopped it at the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah. Yeah. In fairness, I mean, I don't know if there is any fairness in this, but in parity, like that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Like I'd be in there and we'd be like, "What are you doing?" And they're taking his gloves off, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh no, it's 3 rounds." And I've got a contract.
Dude.
I'm like, "It's 5 rounds," and they were like, "Yeah," and it's not. And you're like, "It is."
Crazy.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've
Crazy.
had
But
that
that's
happen
New
to me too.
York,
Yeah.
man. It's New York. It's the Wild West in New York. You never know. Oh, so nuts. So you ended up, you're like Phil's and Gleason. How do you end up at Henzo?
Oh, so I started fighting again more consistently, and I ended up fighting for Phil Nurse for the Wat. It wasn't the Wat then. It was his original school was called Kai Noi Lug Sitnarong, and so like it was an extension of Master Skin's school, which was Sitnarong, and so I ended up fighting for him, and then I won a kickboxing, the US WKA welterweight kickboxing title. So in Virginia, I had to go there for that, and so yeah, right, and
Been
so
there too.
yeah, so I got a bit of that was good. Like I got a bit more attention, and so some people would like promote me a bit better. And then my friend Joe Sampiri, as you know, he was like one of Phil's #1 guys, and he wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and I'd got a job as a tiny me got a job as a security guy, as like a bouncer in this club, because I hadn't I'd only been here a couple of years then, and I didn't really have consistent work. And one of the lads who I was training with was working at this nightclub, and so I got a job there, just like searching people or like working on the floor. And it was like me and 20 guys who were like big black guys or Spanish guys from Harlem, all like 260 pounds. And so it was like that was a great experience as well. I was there for like 3 years, and like whilst I was doing that, I was getting into fights because I'm not a very, you know me, but like I'm not a very physically intimidating person. So like every time we'd be in the club, like doing something, it was always me getting fights. They'd look around and be like, let's fight
Let's
that
get
guy.
that guy.
Yeah. And so, every other week I'll be like black eye this or this
Oh
and
my
that. And
God.
I was like, I don't want to keep this up. This is bad. I need the money, but I'm like, So one day I was in there and I watched this lad have a fight, and I went over to stop it. And then the lad was like wrestling the guy and then choked him unconscious with a guillotine or something. I can't even remember. And I was like super impressed. So when he was being thrown out, I said, "Hey, you don't have to go out. That wasn't your fault. I saw what happened." He was like, "All right." And I go, "But can I ask you a question? Where did you learn to do that?" So he mentioned Henzo's. And it was it was on 37th Street then. It was like up by this methadone clinic. This was in like 2001 or something. I don't know, 2002 or something like that. And so anyway, that was the last I heard of it. And then about 6 months went past. And then I eventually found out where it was. And I went and I just started training, and I used to get the shit kicked out of me. And then not long after, I won this kickboxing title. And at the time, Henzo was fighting in Japan in Pride, and he was getting ready for a fight. And Henzo, even then, he was bigger than me, but he wasn't as big as he is now. He put size on Henzo while I knew him. But back then he was probably about 160 and I was like 140. So one day I was in there and somebody must have told him I was a kickboxer. So he asked me if I would train with him. And I was like, yeah. So I started showing up and sparring with him. And because I was, respectful, and I never tried to be a dickhead with him. Like I was just trying to help him. I mean, the sparring went really well. And then one day I brought some pads and we started doing pad work. And next thing you know, he was like, his cousin showed up, and then his other cousin, and then his brother. And then next thing you know, I was like training everyone. It was really,
that's
it was a
amazing
game
though.
changer.
That's so amazing.
It was like an immigrant story. I was like, are you kidding me? You're going to
And
let
that's
me
like
do
the
this?
guy too. If you have him on your side, he'll change your life. Like
exactly. Yeah.
If you get in with him, he'll make sure that whatever you're good at, you can do it for a living. Like he's crazy like that. Like
Yeah,
But he
I'm so
can
glad.
too.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that because it's better coming from you than me. Because obviously I'm super biased, but like I've watched him do it too. Like Danaher, Sean Williams.
Oh my God.
There's a list that goes on and on and on and on and on and on of people who.
We've circled each other forever.
Yeah.
I'm not a Henzo guy, like officially, whatever. Like I'm connected, like I'm really good friends with Dante and whatnot, and a lot of my guys jiu-jitsu there, and that's how we connected with getting our guys to cross train there, and I'm tight with Branch and stuff. But in terms of Henzo himself, like I don't the connection's like not official there, but I've been circling forever. I mean, Red Bank, New Jersey is 15 minutes away from me, and that's where he opened up his first school in a racquetball court in a failing health club. And,
Right.
he lives 20 minutes away from me too, which is funny. But we've circled each other his whole time here. And I've just seen what he's done for people that are close to him and around him. We actually, like, I don't even know if I should even say it, but we had an issue. There was like the first freestyle grappling tournament ever was in New Jersey, and it was Big Dan Merigliotta held it. And Henzo showed up with like an army of people. And Gene Dunn, who you and I have a mutual relationship with, Gene was in that. And I saw him there, and he's like, oh my God, whatever. And Henzo was there. But it was this weird deal. If a guy sat on his butt, they expected you to go to his guard. This is back in like 98, 99. This is weird times. Like we're not fully developed yet, you know?
Yeah.
So Danny goes, no, this is like a freestyle grappling tournament. And Henzo's like, no, this is jujitsu. If they don't go to guard, it's not jujitsu. And then like a big spat breaks out. Henzo spits at somebody. A fight breaks out, like all this shit. And then Henzo's in the middle of like matches, grabbing his guys, pulling them out. We're leaving. And then Danny says, no, we're going to change the rules. I can't afford for all you guys to leave. I can't give you your money back. And so they changed the rules. And then I got mad. And then Henzo yelled at me. And I think like Hyen pushed me, and I pushed him back, and like it turned into a big thing. And then I had like a bad taste about the guy for a while. But then around the IFL times, I started to run into him again, and then I started to see some different things. And then I like, all right, he's not a dick. I'm cool. So like it was weird, but man, those were the wild times. Those days with him, especially, he had a lot of fire in him back then too. Like him and Hyen together. Whew,
yeah, that was potent.
Days. Yeah. But that's the game bred mentality that he has, and that's why his group is what it is, and that's what attracts people. And you know, it is what it is. Like you want to be in the fight business, you better be game bred. You know.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, it's not. I think it's the same kind of thing. It's like a similar connection where I was talking to someone the other day, like not to change subjects, but someone was talking about to me about people have been like protesting about the quarantine or whatever else. There's some things coming up, and a person was upset about that. And I was like, yeah, I get it, but I also get like people expressing their. I mean, I'm not trying to be overly American here, but I'm like, you got to have a free sense of what you want to express. And for me, is try to keep anything as respectful as possible. But people have legitimate views because everybody is in the same boat, but not everyone's in the same place. So like you can be like, oh, well, we've got a quarantine. I'm like, yeah, but is your business gonna, you know what I mean? Or has this happened? And then the exact opposite can be like, well, did you lose anyone? You know what I mean? So, but the conversation is like relevant on both sides.
Absolutely.
And it's the same for, it's taken me a while as well to come to certain ideas, but it's the same in martial arts. Like some of the things that I don't like, I still have to acknowledge as being important parts of development. So like the very thing that keeps a really successful drug dealer afloat doing his business is the same mechanism that helps that politician win whatever election.
I just said to Carl yesterday, we were talking, and we were just talking about socioeconomic differences in opportunity and whatever. And I said, the best sales guys I've ever known, bar none, are drug dealers.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's like the skill set's just being applied into what's available to them in the culture in which they've come up and what they've been made to feel is the only opportunity they have. That guy could sell a car as much as he could sell whatever, Yeah. And politicians are the same thing. It's the same mentality, but just brought up in a different way, So.
Yeah, that's what I was like trying to. I mean, I'm not trying to say
politicians and drug dealers are the same.
Yeah, the same.
No. It's a mechanism. it's the end result of, again, it's the human thing. We're all humans, and depending upon the culture in which we come is what we then define our opportunity as. You and me are different, like, because no matter what you were brought up in, you felt like you wanted what you wanted. And I was very much the same way, where like you had to get out of where you were because you just knew. You didn't allow the culture of where you were raised to make that the place you could never leave. And that's how you ended up in New York.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating because like I treasure Liverpool. I treasure all my family's there. I treasure my culture. I really do. I wouldn't change. I wouldn't want to change anything. I'm grateful for it. But I'm not there for a reason.
No.
It's like I felt the need to do something else, but without the structure that it gave me internally, and without the people around me giving me what they gave me, I don't think I could be here doing what I'm doing. So I've been here almost as long as I was in England now, and again, I'm super grateful for that. The people I've met here, the conversations I've had, and the experiences, they're just something I could never have honestly imagined for myself. I've had a phenomenal life. I just feel very blessed. I really do.
Yeah, man. And again, I'm running out of time a little bit. I got my kids starting to scream in the background. But
so good.
I got to tell you, man, the same way is having the experience of being in, MMA to have the relationships I have with guys like yourself, and to be able to share these stories. It's this is one of the fortunate situations we have, is where we've taken certain risks in our lives to be the people that we are, because this is not a conventional lifestyle. But to be able to sit down for an hour and have a conversation like this is one of those ones where it's like, this is how it pays off. This is the richness of everything we do. And it brings you in touch with people that it's mediocrity is not okay. You know what I mean? We're high achievers without being, we don't crush those around us because of the nature of what we do. You know what I mean? It's like we're leaders, but we build communities. And that's the cool part.
I think it's, for me, it's law of the farm, not law of the jungle.
You got it. Yeah.
I want us all to, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? I want everyone to come up as best as we can.
But if you haven't done the wandering thing, you don't understand that. And you and I both have that. I mean, I haven't gone into mine because everybody knows my story, but you're here to tell yours. But like, I did the wandering thing too. And we get to this point because we've seen so much. You appreciate humanity because you've seen a lot of it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know if I misquote someone here, but I read it was Picasso said, inspiration exists, but it must find you working. And I love that. I like that idea that like don't wait, fucking get on with it. And whilst you're getting on with it, because you're in the framework of what's going on, you can be inspired by stuff. But if you're waiting to be inspired, I think you're making a mistake. You've got to get on with it.
I always say inspiration and perspiration.
Yeah.
They both require each other. You have to be inspired to sweat, and the sweat creates more inspiration, and it's that cycle of on and on and on. But if you don't do the work, nothing happens. Look, I want to do this again because this is like cool introduction for people to understand you. And I really think it was important for people to understand how Corona is hitting our community, and especially you in New York City going through what you're going through. That was really important, but there's we haven't even touched on the training side of it. And you've got such a cool thing going on in the city with a great group of guys, and you have a lot of people that are really loyal to you for a reason. And I would like to delve into that a little bit more at another point, but I got to get back with the family right now. But
of course, yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I am really happy we were able to finally get this done. And again, if we didn't have this thing happen, we probably wouldn't have done this. So I'm glad we were able to get on and chat a little bit, man. And it was so good to actually see you again. And
you too, man.
Look, whoever opens up first is where we're all going to meet. We gotta make a commitment to that. Like, if you guys get open, we're there. If we get open, you guys got to come here. Just don't bring any germs with you.
Just mental illness. I'll just bring my
mental illness is the only
illness.
That is the only acceptable illness that we have in this world right now. All right, my man. Again, respect, appreciate it. And I will be talking to you soon, hopefully face-to-face. And if we can't do face-to-face, we'll definitely do it like this again.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian. I appreciate
Yeah, man.
the
Stay
time. That's
safe.
awesome.
Stay
Okay, bro.
safe, please. And
Will
if you
do.
need anything, reach out to my community as much as you got your own. My community is your community too, because I know you guys are struggling. Whatever you need, man, don't hesitate.
Thanks, Brian. Cheers,
All
mate.
right, man. Peace.
Bye-bye, mate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.